The Final Fantasy V Four Job Fiesta, besides being something that's a little hard to say, is an annual charity event run by the folks over at fourjobfiesta.com. So the idea behind Final Fantasy V was, as opposed to sort of a typical RPG, rather than having characters who have specific classes that they're always assigned to, so like in the previous game, Rosa was always a white mage who could cast like healing kind of spells, and that was it for her. The characters in FF5 start as freelancers. All they can really do is fight, use items. They can equip any weapon or armor in the game, but there's nothing special about them. But as you go through the game, you unlock jobs. So what happens is you'll encounter a crystal. The crystal will give you a set of jobs you can now assign to your characters. So the first one might give you, fighter class, white mage class, black mage class in the form of these jobs. And the idea is you can say, I'll have one of my party members be a white mage, one of them be a black mage. And the idea is they'll get sort of like passive stat affectations depending on the job they currently have. They'll get new abilities such as like casting magic or maybe defending other party members. They'll get certain subsets of weapons and armor they can equip. And the longer you stay in that job, the character with that job might actually get sort of like passive permanent upgrades from it, even if they switch jobs later. It was kind of an interesting system for managing character classes, and the game has a lot of technical bosses that can make certain jobs a poor choice for certain situations and other jobs better. And there's over 20 jobs, I believe 22 total, with 4 more added in the GBA version of the game. There's actually a lot of interesting combinations and synergies, apparently. I'm not super familiar with Final Fantasy V. I'd only played a little of it previously. But when I heard about the event, I decided to give it a whirl. So this is how it works. FourJobFiesta.com has a little engine set up with the magic of, HTTP and Twitter. And they have a little Twitter account they call Gilgabot. And the idea is you play the game, and if you like, you can record or stream it, which many people are doing, myself included. And when you encounter a crystal and the game gives you some jobs you can assign, you tweet Gilgabot and you say, hashtag like wind if you unlock the wind crystal. Although I think that first one it gives you automatically, but you'll do that for the subsequent crystals. And Gilgabot will send you back a job. And the idea is when you get a job, at least one character in your party must have that job for the remainder of the game. This happens 4 times to the max of the 4 characters in your party. So the first time, let's say Gilgabot gives you a white mage, that means at least one character in your party has to be a white mage for the remainder of the game. The second time it happens, maybe Gilgabot will give you Berserker. So that second time you say you have to have at least a white mage and a Berserker in your party. Then the third time and then the fourth time until your party is full of these 4 static jobs. You can switch in between characters as I understand it, depending on the specific restrictions you choose. But that is more or less how it works, and the idea is it gives Final Fantasy V fans reasons to like try out maybe new jobs and affinities they wouldn't have otherwise, and it also gives new sorts of challenges and things, and even to people who haven't played it before like me. The website's a little tricky to navigate, and it took a while for me to kind of understand the rules behind it and the different sort of restrictions you can add. It seems to be geared toward people who already knew about the Fiesta, but and if you're not familiar with Final Fantasy V, it's a little dense. But as an example, one of the things you can do when you register is called a normal run. So what happens here is Gilgabot will only assign you jobs that are currently unlocked, which makes sense. It's kind of standard that way. And the idea is like every time you unlock a new group of jobs, you'll get a job from that new unlocked group. You can also get random run, which means every time Gilgabot will give you a job from all the ones you currently have unlocked. And then there's a thing called chaos, which I'm doing, which means any job can be assigned to you. However, it can also be jobs you haven't unlocked yet. This happened to me. So, for example, my first job I got was Mystic Knight, which gets unlocked by a later crystal in the game. So I had to keep my characters as freelancers. I couldn't assign any jobs until I got the Mystic Knight job. Honestly, since that's all early game, that's not as boring as it sounds, and it worked out all right for me until I got my second assignment, which was Berserker, which I'll get into in a bit, because that's a special case. There's a thing called Team 750 and Team No 750. That's like a little inside joke that means Team 750 means I only want magic users, and Team No 750 means I want characters that are not magic users. That's, again, for like veterans and people like that. There's also Classic, which means you'll only get jobs from the first Final Fantasy game, which, what is that? Fighter, Thief, Monk, White Mage, Black Mage, Red Mage, etc. There's like certain crystal affinities each character has if you want to do something special. This is optional, called a natural run, which means that, like, I'm just reading off the website, Barts can use the wind crystal job exclusively, so the first set of jobs you get, you only assign to him, etc. It's very specific character job restrictions, more or less, and it also means you can't do a lot of switching around, if at all, actually. So, I said it's a charity event, and how does the money work? Well, for one thing, you can pledge it. I did a very uncreative pledge because I wasn't sure what I was doing, and I just said if I can't finish the game by the deadline, which is August 31st, 2015 this year, I'll pledge $100 to Child's Play, which is the charity that they're donating to. Maybe I'll amend that. I'm not sure how. I see other people do things like each run I complete, I'll pledge $10. If I lose a run, I'll pledge $20, etc. And if you hate your job assignments, it's, you know, obviously on the honor system, but you can pledge $25 to have Gilgabot reassign you a job. There's one exception to this, which is Berserkers. And the Berserker job class basically turns a character into a Berserker, which is a strong physical attack class that can't do anything but attack. In fact, it's automatically attack. You don't even choose the prompt. So the problem is, like I said, there's technical bosses that make certain things a challenge, which means Berserkers tend to be sort of a detriment to a game of Final Fantasy V where you're locked into a job, so they're sort of a bad thing to have. So at the beginning of this, Gilgabot won't assign any Berserkers, but for every $10 donated, Gilgabot will add a Berserker to the pool of jobs it's apportioning out. So if 50 people gave $10 for that, it'll give out 50 Berserkers to all the participants. This year, there were a lot of Berserker pledges like that, so basically you were almost guaranteed at least one Berserker. And in fact, this is the only way you can end up with duplicate job classes. Gilgabot's usually good about giving you unique jobs, except for Berserkers. I got 2. People tell me I'm screwed. I don't, or not really, I guess, but they tell me it's a lot harder. I don't know enough about Final Fantasy V. I can only imagine having half my party that I can't control being a sort of major problem, but, you know, fuck it, it's for fun. The way the Berserker risk worked out, which was a hashtag you added to your registration, it's kind of past the deadline of when it started, so if you want to do Berserker risk now, you kind of can't. There are no more Berserker slots to be apportioned, but if you'd still like to participate in the FF5 Four Job Fiesta, you absolutely still can. There's still plenty of ways to do it. Even if, like me, you've never really played Final Fantasy V, I'm finding just from the couple hours I played of it last night, I'm really digging it, so give it a whirl, stream it if you like, and hey, the worst case, if it ends up terrible, like tons of people are streaming it and recording it, so just, you know, pass the link off to them if you're really just unhappy with what's been going on, or just be like me and not give a shit, because Final Fantasy V is a fun game, it turns out. Well, I hope that kind of helps explain it. Like I said, the website's a little dense, so, and, you know, geared toward people who kind of already know about this, but I hear they're revamping that next year, and hey, who knows? It could be a fun time. And again, 2 Berserkers, I guess I'm screwed. That's what they tell me. So, hey, if you like, I have a website set up, slowbeef.com/fiesta, where myself, Ty Tuesday, Raving Loon, and Andy AML are all sort of playing it at various times. I know Turbo C wants in. Beatus is considering it. Dame has classes, probably considering it. So, yeah, give it a whirl. Take it easy.